Howdy guys, Miss Collins here, and today we are going to be printmaking. We're going to continue talking about our elements of art. So far we have talked about pattern with our weaving last time, and today we're going to skip past unity and move to contrast. Now remember, with contrast I also had you write down the word variety. Contrast and variety mean the same thing, and they both mean to use the opposites together. So today we're going to use some black and some white together to develop some contrast. The way that we're going to do that is by printmaking. Now printmaking is something we have done before in the past. In the past we used our jelly mats and we kind of carved out our design and then printed them on a sheet of paper. We're going to do that same kind of principle, but instead of using the jelly mats, we are going to use some styrofoam plates. Now the ones that you guys have in your classroom are going to be rectangular, but for those of you that are virtual and still working at home, I just wanted to show you a way that you can do the same project from your house. All you'll need is styrofoam plate. We'll be using ink here at school, but acrylic paint works okay too, and then some paper as well as a pencil and a few other things that might pop up along the way. So if you are at home, you are going to use a styrofoam plate and you're simply going to cut out a piece that is flat. Now when I did that, I just cut a round piece that kind of matched the shape of the plate, but if you wanted to cut this into a rectangle or a square, that is totally up to you. If you are working with me here at school, your plate is going to be a rectangle shape, and that's the same shape that you're going to use to make your sketch. So we have 3 steps that we're going to follow here: sketch, plate, print. Printmaking is the process of transferring one image to another. So think of it kind of like a stamp. This plate is going to act as our stamp, but before I start carving into the plate, I want to do an initial design so that I'm prepared and I know exactly what I'm going to put on the plate. You can't really erase when it comes to carving, so I want to do any of my practicing here on this paper. For me, I'm going to trace the shape that I have. Those of you that are at school are a little luckier. Ms. Collins has already done this for you. You will see a rectangle on your sheet of paper. This is where you are going to draw your design. Your design can be anything you want, but make sure that your lines are pretty simplistic and pretty large. Anything that is too small is just not going to show up when we go to stamp. So it's important to keep in mind with your designs that whatever you draw is going to be inverted. Remember, this is going to end up being a stamp. So whatever you draw here is going to end up backwards whenever we print it. You also want to keep in mind that any areas that you color in black now will end up being white at the end. That's kind of how we're focusing on contrast, is that we're going to have opposites. So if I were to color in these snowy tops of my mountains, they may look black now, but when I go to print them, they're going to end up being white. Okay, so once you are happy with your design, you are simply going to cut it out. Okay, once you have this, you're going to put your sketch on top of your plate, and then you're going to secure it with a piece of tape. I'm going to line it up, make sure those shapes really match, and then just secure it really anywhere. That way that my paper is not wiggling around while I'm trying to trace it. And that's what you'll do next. You're going to take your pencil or whatever you're writing with, and you are going to trace every single line we just made again, except this time we're pushing into the styrofoam that's underneath. So we're making an imprint of the initial sketch that we made, and this is going to make our plate, which is step 2. Okay, so once you have traced the whole thing, then you can peel up your sketch, and underneath you should have the imprint of the drawing that we did. Now this is not perfect yet, because what we have to do is we have to go back over it and finalize, and the way we're going to do that is by going over it just with our pencil one more time to really squish in those grooves. The deeper you make them, the better your print will turn out. So I'm just going to peel off my sketch. You can discard this or keep it, it's totally up to you. Okay, once you have made sure that all of your grooves are nice and neat and deep, we are actually going to leave this until next time. So this is as far as I want you to get today. We had our initial sketch that we formulated, and we also made our plate, which is really the star of our show. You guys are going to keep up with this until next time, and then next time we will do our printing. Okay, when it comes to printing, we are going to have a sheet underneath the entire thing to contain our mess. So this is kind of my mess mat here. Everyone will just have a free draw paper that we'll be printing on top of. Because of the circumstances of our year, I am the only person that is going to use our roller. So I will bring our ink around in a little plate that looks like this. This is my roller here, and I'm going to use my roller to pick up the ink evenly. When you're rolling, really you're listening for the right consistency. You want to have it be kind of sticky, so when you hear that sticky sound, that's how we know we're ready to apply. I'll come around with the plate that is loaded with ink, and we will roll our ink over top of our plate. Alright, so once our entire plate is coated with a layer of ink, then it is time to print. So we will take another sheet of paper. When you're printmaking, you want to leave the plate here, and then you will apply the paper on top. So I'm going to take my sheet that I'm planning on printing on, I'm going to line it up as best I can, and then I'm going to place it over top of my plate. Now it's your job to rub, really press that ink into that paper. You can very carefully pull up your paper, and you should have a print that has transferred. We'll continue to use these. You can use these printing plates over and over and over again. So if yours didn't come out clearly the first time, you can always try again. Perhaps we'll need to add more ink or less ink. It's more of an experiment, really. Once you're done, Collins is going to give you a Ziploc bag for you to take your printing plate home. You can use acrylic paint. It doesn't work as well as the ink. If you were to brush the acrylic paint over your plate, you can do the same sort of process on your own at home. So once we have finished completely, you guys can go ahead and go into the word contrast and color it to show that we have completed it. And we'll continue with more of the principles of art next week. Thanks for making these prints with me, guys. I'll catch you next time. Bye. What is happening over there?
You should have left.